Welcome to Hood Politics. In this episode, I will be discussing the story of Clive Jackson Jr. The facts of the case are as follows. On Saturday, November 16th, 2002, a group of friends were attending a backyard birthday party at a home located on 42nd Street near Normandy Avenue. Among the group was Ronnie, Tony, Andre, Alonzo, Reggie, Gustavo, and a 14-year-old young man named Clive Jackson Jr. By all accounts, the night was going well. People were talking, laughing, and enjoying the music. Shortly afterwards, a 17-year-old rolling 40 Crip named Antoine Butler approached Ronnie and claimed that he was mean mugging him. He asked Ronnie what was he looking at and did he know him. Ronnie said that he didn't know him and he wasn't looking at him. As Ronnie turned away to leave, Antoine punched him in the face. When the rest of the group saw Ronnie's lip bleeding, they asked him what happened. He told them, and they all began looking for Antoine. Some of the group walked to the street and saw him walking towards Normandy. They started chasing him, but Antoine got away. The group then returned to the party. The party was being chaperoned by a man named Joe and his brother-in-law Tyrone. They saw Antoine leave the backyard in a hurry, and moments later, a group of people also leave the backyard and return shortly afterwards. 10 minutes later, Joe saw Antoine walking towards the house with a gun in his hand. He yelled to him, "Don't come down here with the gun," and Antoine yelled back, "Tell him to come out." Joe didn't know who he was referring to, but he refused to let anyone leave the backyard. As Antoine continued to approach the house, Joe pulled out his own gun and cocked it, and Tyrone came out the house with a shotgun. At that point, he turned around and walked away. After Antoine made it far enough down the street, Joe began letting people leave the backyard. A few minutes later, Ronnie and Reggie's mothers pulled up to the house to take the boys home. Tony, Andre, and Clive got into the car with Reggie and his mother. As they drove away, they saw Antoine standing on the street with a gun in his hand. A few days later, on November 21st at around 4 p.m., Tony, Andre, Gregory, and Clive were at a bus stop near the intersection of Vernon and Western Avenue. Shortly afterwards, Gregory saw Antoine and two other Rolling 40 members at a gas station across the street. Antoine and his friends noticed the group at the bus stop and walked across the street and approached them. Antoine asked Clive if he remembered him. Clive replied no, and Antoine punched him in the face. The two groups then began fighting, and the brawl spilled into the street. Gregory was hit in the face, and Andre told him to run. Clive and Antoine fell to the ground and started wrestling. During the scuffle, Tony noticed Antoine reaching under his shirt and saw the handle of a gun. He yelled to Clive, "He's got a gun!" Clive broke free, and he and Tony took off running in different directions. While still on the ground, Antoine pulled out the gun and opened fire, hitting Clive in the back. Clive fell to the ground, and Antoine stood up, ran over to him, and shot him 9 more times. He then fled the scene. On the day of the shooting, Clive and his friends were headed to the mall. His family was going to New Orleans for Thanksgiving vacation, and he wanted to buy some new t-shirts for the trip. Usually his father, Clive Sr., drove him everywhere, but this time, Clive asked could he take the bus with his friends, and Sr. said yes. A few minutes later, Sr. was at a nearby car wash when he heard the shots. Moments later, one of Clive's friends ran to the car wash and told Sr. that Clive was shot. He raced to the scene and saw his son laying face down on the sidewalk. He screamed his name and shook him, but Clive wasn't moving. Sr. stayed with his son, and responding officers had to pull him away. Shortly afterwards, Clive Jackson Jr. was pronounced dead. Clive, also known as Junior by his family and friends, was a student at Crenshaw High School where he excelled in basketball. He had dreams of attending his mother Sharon's alma mater, UCLA, and then making it to the NBA. He was already saving money for textbooks so she wouldn't have to pay for them. Detectives arrived at the scene and began their investigation. They found multiple bullet casings scattered on the street and sidewalk. Afterwards, they began speaking to witnesses. A man named Omar was standing outside of a nearby restaurant when he saw the two groups fighting. He then saw a man with a ponytail pull out a gun and open fire. He said that both groups started to scatter, but one person collapsed and the gunman ran over to him and continued to shoot. Clive was shot a total of 10 times, and 7 of the bullets were fatal. A woman named Tanya also witnessed the shooting. She was a teacher at a nearby school called Little Citizens Westside Academy. Tanya stepped out for a few minutes and returned to the building frantic. She was crying and talking fast. Her colleagues calmed her down, and she told them that she just saw her former student, Antoine, shoot someone. Tanya refused to call 911 and report the shooting, but a school administrator named Deborah made the call. She relayed all the information that Tanya told her about the shooting to the operator. Deborah felt the operator was being nonchalant about the call, so she said she witnessed the shooting to add some urgency to the response. After the school day ended, Deborah and the school's director, Doris, went to the police station to report the shooting. They didn't identify Tanya as their source of information, but later they told investigators that Tanya was the actual witness. Meanwhile, investigators began searching for Antoine. They visited multiple homes and other locations that he was known to frequent, but there was no sign of him. Detectives were able to get Antoine on the phone and tried to negotiate a surrender, but he never showed up. They figured he went on the run and was possibly fleeing the state, so they organized a nationwide manhunt to track him down. In the days following Clive's murder, LA's mayor, James Hahn, held a news conference and announced that the city was cracking down on gangs. Clive's family joined Hahn during the conference, and Senior and Sharon quietly cried as he spoke about their son. Hahn said the epidemic of murders should be used as a call to action against gangs. He stated, "Too many lives, such as Clive's, have been cut short. Statistics cloud us from seeing the real pain." LAPD Chief William Braden also attended the conference. He called for federal help to go after gangs using the RICO Act. He also promoted Captain Michael Hillman to Deputy Chief in charge of coordinating citywide anti-gang actions, and dubbed him the Gang Czar. Clive's sister, Monique, said that he was always calm and knew to avoid trouble, and she hopes that in death, her brother will make the difference he planned to make in life. She stated, "He cared about the neighborhood. He had so many plans. He knew what he wanted and knew what he had to do to get there. He was so gifted." Clive's parents were no longer together. He lived with his mother, and his father lived across town with his new wife Dee Dee, his sister, and his 5-year-old stepbrother Blair. The new family dynamic took some getting used to, but Clive grew to love it. He helped Senior pick out the wedding ring and was even his best man during the ceremony. Clive's favorite thing about the new dynamic was getting the little brother he always wanted. Clive adored Blair, and the two would always play baseball and basketball together. Senior and Dee Dee sat Blair down and told him what happened to Clive, and whenever someone called the house, he would pick up the phone and ask, "Did you know Junior died?" He'd then say, "Junior's not going to ride his bike anymore. Junior's not going to wear his nice clothes anymore. Junior is not coming back." Sharon said the grief is still fresh. She stated, "He was my life. He was not just my son, but a best friend." Clive's parents went to great lengths to keep him safe. He had a cell phone since age 11 and would call his parents and let them know about basketball practices and whenever he was headed to a friend's house. Senior stated, "We are responsible parents. We did everything possible, but still, it didn't work." 8 days before his death, Clive wrote a letter to UCLA. He wrote about his life and his future goal of going to the school. He stated, "I would like to go to UCLA College when I get out of high school. I would like to know how to get into the college so that I can get ready." He also talked about his dream of playing basketball for the school and making it to the NBA. He stated, "How can I get into sports? I would like to talk to the coach. I would also like to know how you can get a scholarship because I want to play basketball in the NBA." He closed by saying, "I thank you for your time and I hope to make it there. Sincerely, Clive Jackson Jr." 2 weeks after the murder, on Friday, December 6th, shortly before 3 p.m., Antoine surrendered at the Parker Center Police Department headquarters in downtown LA. He was surrounded by family and his attorney, Mark Worksman. Antoine insisted that the whole thing was a big misunderstanding and a case of mistaken identity. He stated, "I don't know why they're doing this. They got the wrong guy." He denied any gang affiliation and said that he never seen Clive before investigators came looking for him. Worksman stated, "I want to make sure the public understands that he is turning himself in and intends to fight the charges." Antoine picked up his 2-year-old nephew, Dorian, and he, Worksman, and the family walked to meet homicide detectives. After hugging his family, he was taken away and transported to Men's Central Jail. His mother, Melanie, broke down crying. She wiped away tears as she said he didn't do it. She went on to say that the family had just learned that Antoine passed his high school equivalency test at Westside Academy, and he was one of only 2 students to pass the test. She said he had never been arrested, and his only brush with the law was 5 years prior when he got caught with marijuana in junior high. Sharon was relieved that he was in custody. She stated, "I knew sooner or later they would get him." Clive's aunt, Alice, was also relieved that Antoine was in custody. She stated, "I'm just glad he's off the streets." 2 months after Antoine's arrest, Clive's family and friends gathered to celebrate what would have been his 15th birthday. Balloons filled the house as Sharon prepared food and greeted guests as they arrived. A birthday cake sat on the table as Clive's loved ones shared memories of him. Sharon said she wants to keep her son's memory alive and hoped that his death could spark change. She stated, "I lost the most precious thing in my life. I don't want to see any other young man die like that." The trial began in late 2003. The prosecutor during the trial was a woman named Allison Matsumoto. Matsumoto painted Antoine as a bully that often sought out confrontation and told the court how he approached Ronnie at the party looking for trouble and then approached Clive at the bus stop looking for trouble, and if someone stood up to him, he would grab his gun. Multiple witnesses took the stand during the trial. Tony told the court about the incident at the birthday party and the shooting at the bus stop. He said he saw the handle of the gun under Antoine's shirt while he was fighting with Clive, but admitted that he didn't see him shoot. Gregory also took the stand. Initially, he denied seeing a gun, but later he admitted to seeing the handle of a gun under Antoine's shirt as he and the two others walked towards the bus stop. He said he was running down an alley when he heard the shots, but he didn't know who shot. Omar, the man who had been standing outside of the restaurant during the shooting, also took the stand. He said he saw a man with a ponytail pull a gun and open fire multiple times. Antoine was the only person present with the ponytail. Antoine's former teacher, Tanya, also took the stand. She said she had just left Westside Academy and was on her way to her second job, but first needed some gas. So she stopped at the station on Vernon and Western, but realized that she left her wallet at the school, and as she prepared to go back and grab it, she heard gunshots. After making it back to the school, Tanya said she was shook up because she had never been that close to gunshots, but she denied telling any of her coworkers about the shooting. When Matsumoto asked Tanya if she had been threatened or was afraid to identify Antoine as the shooter, she said she wasn't threatened or afraid, but she was concerned about her safety as a witness. The court allowed the statements that Tanya made about the shooting to her coworkers to be used during the trial. Also, when she made it back to the school, there was a conference call taking place, and a number of her colleagues from different Westside Academy campuses heard her statements about the shooting. After leaving to her second job, Tanya called into the conference and went into further detail about the shooting. She also said that she spoke to her boyfriend, and he told her that she should have kept quiet and not told anyone about what she saw. Tanya said she wouldn't cooperate with investigators or testify during the trial because she knew Antoine and his family and they knew where she worked. Worksman said that there was no real evidence against Antoine and the prosecutor's entire case was built on hearsay. Ultimately, Antoine was found guilty of murder for the death of Clive Jackson Jr., as well as gun enhancement charges. Antoine pounded his fist against the wall as sheriff's deputies escorted him from the courtroom. Sharon cried as the verdict was read. She stated, "I feel justice has been served. This animal will not be back on the street." A deputy probation officer named Crystal Ingram wrote a pre-sentencing report to the court. It read in part, "The defendant has proven that he will stop at nothing to avenge his self-worth." The victim in this case was a 14-year-old child barely getting a start in life. His death did not come by accident, but was the result of the deliberate and willful actions of the defendant. Worksman asked the judge, Judith Champagne, to sentence Antoine as a juvenile, citing that he was only 17 years old when he was charged with the shooting, but Judge Champagne denied the motion. On February 5, 2004, Antoine Butler was sentenced to 50 years to life in prison. The sentencing was bittersweet for the family, because while they did feel justice was served, they knew that it wouldn't bring Clive back. Sharon said that Antoine deprived her of the chance to say goodbye to her son. She stated, "You have caused intense pain to more people than you could possibly imagine. People like you are destroying our community." Sear said he feels like he could finally move forward. He stated, "I buried my son dead. Now Antoine is being buried alive. He'll be in a coffin the rest of his life." Senior attempted to push forward, but the trauma of Clive's death never left him. Senior was a very accomplished chef. Throughout his career, he was an executive chef for a cruise line and a movie studio. In 2013, he opened his own Caribbean restaurant called Brownstone Bistro. It was located on Pico Boulevard and open to great reviews. There was a bar, live music, and he offered catering services. For years, the restaurant thrived. But over time, business slowed down and he began operating at a loss. In 2018, Senior appeared on Gordon Ramsay's 24 Hours to Hell and Back. The show featured troubled restaurants, and Chef Ramsay had 24 hours to turn them around. Senior said being on the show helped him immensely. The business was running smoother, and the promotion from the show gave him a huge boost in customers. But as the months went on, the business slowed down again, and Brownstone Bistro was forced to close its doors. According to Senior's family and friends, ever since Clive's murder, he had buried himself in his work, and with his restaurant now gone, he was forced to face his trauma. He fell into depression and eventually lost his home and ended up living on the street. In 2021, Senior appeared on Soft White Underbelly. The show features people from all walks of life telling their life stories. Senior spoke about coming to America from Jamaica, becoming a chef, losing Clive, getting divorced, losing his restaurant, and becoming homeless. Senior said that he blames himself for Clive's death because he told him it was okay to catch the bus, and if he would have just driven him to the mall, the shooting would have never happened. That same year, a video of Senior surfaced online. He held a sign saying that he was homeless and needed help. He started a GoFundMe to get back on his feet and raised over $6,000, but the money didn't change his circumstances and he continued living on the street. In February of 2023, a woman named Lizzie Calhoun was giving food to the homeless when she saw Senior. His clothes were soaked as he stood in the rain with no shelter. The night prior, his makeshift tent collapsed during the storm and his belongings were destroyed. Lizzie took Senior to the store and bought him new clothes and supplies and then got him a motel room for the night. She started a GoFundMe for Senior, and within days, the fundraiser reached nearly $50,000. Lizzie recorded Senior's reaction to the good news.
So, do you want to know how much money we've raised?
I would love to know, yes.
About $50,000. Since Sunday. That is how much people care about you. So, and it's enough to keep you housed for a year at least. So. And I don't want to violate your privacy here. I just wanted you to know, and I want people to know like what this means to you. People care.
Lord. Thank you.
We love you. We care about you.
By the time the fundraiser ended, it had raised over $54,000. In the 2024 update, Lizzie said that Senior was in the process of getting back on his feet. He bought a car and had plans of opening a food truck, but unfortunately, that never happened. Senior is still homeless and sleeping out of a tent in downtown LA. A man named Eris gives food and supplies to homeless people around Southern California, and in a recent video, Senior can be seen taking some of the food and telling Eris about his appearance on 24 Hours to Hell and Back, which left many wondering what happened to the GoFundMe money and did Senior even receive it. Clive's memory lives on through his family and friends. He is remembered as an ambitious young man with a big personality and even bigger dreams. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. Please like, comment, and subscribe.